Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my son and chat moderator and co-host Jason.
Hi!
This evening we've got breaking news on Avengers Doomsday, and curious to see how many folks are really excited about this announcement, how many folks think some of it's kind of obvious, and how many people actually think that the way this was announced was effective or clever or cool, because I thought it was just silly, and I think Marvel continues to be super out of touch with their marketing and some of their creative choices with the projects in the first place. But I'm curious to see what people think about this. We'll get into it. I wasn't sure what the lead-in topic would be today. I'm glad I didn't pick one already, because this just happened today. It has been nice that recently we've had trailers and news sometimes on Wednesdays instead of Thursdays.
Yeah.
Because as I've talked about a lot, the Captain Logan Show used to be on Thursdays for years, and very often you'd have a big announcement or a trailer on a Thursday, and it sucks when that happens, and it's after the day after we did a Captain Logan Show, so we gotta wait 6 more days to talk about it. But this one, luckily, we're able to jump right into it and talk about it immediately after. We're gonna look like we had our finger on the pulse, and we really didn't. It was really just Austin sent me a message and was like, "So you're not gonna believe what Marvel's doing. They got this live stream happening. Do you know about this, Jason?"
Yeah.
They got this live stream happening, and you got to wait 12 minutes between shares as the camera pans across all these like folding chairs or director's chairs, and they've got the names of actors that are going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and you got all these people watching live that just cannot wait to see what the big reveals are going to be. And they made a big deal out of, stay tuned to the very end, and it was 3.5 hours. And spoilers, when you get to the end, the revelation is Robert Downey again.
Yeah.
Like, we already know he's in it, but he's actually physically there. Can you believe it? Whoa! And you wait around for 3.5 hours, and then almost immediately after that live stream, they put in the 1:40 version, because of course they just slowed down the footage.
Yeah.
Or maybe they had 2 videos and they actually had a tracking shot that lasted 3.5 hours, but I don't think that's what they did.
There's no way.
And to be fair, I didn't actually look at the stream. I only saw the 1:40 version.
Me too. I did see that it happened, but
yeah, I heard about
the whole 3.5 hours.
No, it's just
Dad,
ridiculous.
Don't you like chairs?
Well, sure. I mean, who doesn't like chairs? They make it so that you don't have to stand on the balls of your feet all day and get all tired, but that's beside the point, Jason. So I guess I'm already talking about this. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of it and look down the list after we do the Patreon question. But first, I just want to say this is not at all how I would have done this.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm really hoping that this isn't the entire cast list. And there's a lot of speculation about whether this is everybody, or whether these are the important people, or whether it's the opposite and these are the expendable people, and a lot of what's on the cast list you'll see destroyed before the inevitable soft reboot when we create Battleworld, right? Any and all of those things are possible. Regardless, even if there are a lot more main characters, cameos, however these characters end up being utilized, it's probably isn't everybody. If it is, it's super disappointing to me that they went the CW crisis route and they told us about everybody up front. That would irritate me. But regardless, I wish more characters were left as a surprise, and at the very least reveal some of them in a trailer and not with actors on the backs of directors' chairs. But I think it would have been really classy to just have the 6 or 8 or 10 chairs for whatever the main Avengers team is.
Yeah.
And just give us a 30, 45 second teaser thing. You can't even call it a teaser or a trailer. There's no footage, but just kind of a tease of what's going to be in the movie. And you see the names revealed of what finally, after 6 years is the Avengers, because we haven't had an Avengers team in that long. And we were building to what looked like a young Avengers. We've never actually done that. None of those people are in this cast list, so I guess we're not doing it now either. You know what's not in that cast list? Very many Avengers.
Yeah.
It says Avengers in the title. There's no Avengers. Now, maybe we'll get more characters that are traditionally Avengers, and they won't just pull from this list for the Avengers. But kind of weird to wait to tell us about that, don't you think, when we already know about Channing Tatum Gambit coming back?
Yeah, that was the one that I was like, what?
Well, we'll get to all of that. But anyway, so that's a little teaser of my thoughts about this. Let's go ahead and do the Patreon question.
Yes.
And then we'll get a little bit deeper into it. We'll read out the cast list. We'll very briefly discuss some of them. And we're going to do just an hour-long show tonight, folks. I've got some more stuff going on tonight. I'm going to try not to do this too often, but this was another night where I just got back from a trip. There's some family stuff I got to deal with, so we're going to try to make it a little shorter tonight if possible. We're still going to sneak in some shorter segments, but we'll skip one or two things if we just don't have time for them. So if you want to make sure that a question or a topic is discussed, whether it's related to the Avengers news today or anything else in geekdom, any other questions, topics within reason, you can leave a super chat, and that guarantees that we'll talk about your topic. We'll try to do some Q&A toward the second half of the more truncated show, but you can also leave regular comments with a question as well, and make sure to tag Jason or Video Game Secrets for that. Okay, Jason, what is our Patreon question for this evening?
So a few weeks ago, we did a great topic video on AI in comics.
Yeah.
And this Patreon question is on the topic of using AI in comics.
Cool. That was a I thought you really held your own with that, Jason. That was that was a really fun discussion, and I was surprised by just how much ground we covered.
Yeah, we did.
We ended up doing the whole first hour on it, I think.
Yeah.
We rode that into the sunset. Do you know if this question was asked before or after that video?
Like right after, I think, in the same week.
Okay, so you think it was probably inspired by that video?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Who is it again?
SS Jerry.
SS Jerry. And once again, I want to make sure that people know how to do this. Patreon.com/Geekvolution. $2 tier is how you can leave a question ahead of time, especially if you can't make it to the show. That's a real great way to get your opinion heard and interact with us in some way. Go ahead, Jason.
On the topic of using AI in comics, how would you feel if publishers used AI with the permission of the original artist to create art based on their work for sequel stories to the original artist's books?
Well, the first kind of throwaway or snarky non-answer I'm going to give you is I doubt that very many artists would give such a permission.
Yeah.
Especially of earlier generations. But even like a lot of, because I was gonna say, if you're a Gen Xer or a Boomer or even a Millennial, I doubt very seriously if you do this real hard work of drawn comics, and then you go, oh, somebody wants to make a sequel with AI art, sure,
Yeah.
go right ahead. But even like your generation and the generation that will come after it, if they didn't use AI in the first place, I doubt very seriously if they give carte blanche. Yeah, sure, have a computer do it. Even if it looked great, I don't know that you really get that permission.
Yeah. Did you know that all artists from Boom Studios are boomers? Did you know that?
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're over 50.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So or I guess boomers would be even older than that now, right? And I guess Gen Xers are probably 50 now.
Yeah.
Am I right about that? Mm-hmm. Because I'm right between Gen X and Millennial. I am actually technically a Millennial, which really bugged me when I was younger. Because it felt night and day, the difference between the generation I thought I was in and the kids that were born 5, 6, 7 years after me. But like 83, 84 is like right at the cutoff. So I'm technically a millennial, but I think of myself much more as like a way, way late Gen Xer. Mm-hmm. But I guess not technically.
You just want to feel old.
Or is it Or is it Gen Y? Or is Gen Y also millennial? Or is there
Gen Y is
actually a Gen
millennial.
Y? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I'm not good at this.
Yeah. And I'm really, really late Gen Z.
Yes. Yeah, you're very nearly Zoomer.
A lot of people my age call themselves Gen Alpha.
Or Gen Alpha, yeah.
But I would say I'm Gen Z. Just based on how I think.
I think that's right.
And I was brought
But
up.
oh, so you have sort of the same thing I do, where like technically maybe you're not, but
Yeah, well, I technically
culturally
am Gen X. Or I mean, I technically am Gen Z.
Okay.
But
But you're saying a lot of kids
Gen
your
Alpha
age
is
don't think of each other that way.
2012. But
Anyway, we're getting off the rails on a show that I can't go too late. But anyway, but the question of this seems like sort of a loophole question where it's like, yeah, I get that you don't love the idea of AI art, you're replacing people and using it for more than just a tool. Because I guess the easy answer is if you can find a way to partly use it, but it's not doing all the work like we talked about before, I feel a little weird about it, but I don't hate it on principle. I'd have to go case by case and see what exactly you're doing with it, I guess. But the loophole is if the creator of the thing is okay with it, isn't it fine? And my answer to that is I don't get why they'd be okay with it. But if they are, I guess you sort of have a point in that maybe there's not as much of an ethics issue, but just because you got permission, like you got to look at the motivations behind things, and just because you got permission doesn't make it art.
right.
I guess is kind of my answer. So it wouldn't make me want to buy it more. I'll say that. It still feels like, more than cutting corners. It still feels like you're taking a job away from somebody for a creative thing where I want, because it's not all about taking jobs from people. I don't mean that, but it's it's complicated. But like, I don't mean to make it all about, oh no, in the name of progress, we're taking jobs away from people. There are some things that it's really good that we have computers and machines that can do it, and we're automating it, and we're getting past some old dangerous industrial ways of doing things. But this isn't farming. This is creativity. This is self-expression, and so I still want a person behind it. Yeah. And like we talked about in that stream, and I don't mean to just repeat myself, but I realize that we already outsource certain things and make some things easier when you get into digital art, and you don't have to color in a whole background anymore. You can just press a button and the color does it. But you still made all those choices. And that still makes it an artistic thing to me. And you just got to decide where you draw the line. Does it stop being art when you move from paper to tablet? Does it stop being art when you move from hand writing your story to typing it on a keyboard? Mm-hmm. On a typewriter and then a keyboard, and then dictating it into a microphone before you finally type it out, or have a computer type it out for you while you're dictating it. You know what I mean? So just because you made it easier on yourself doesn't mean it's not art, but there is a place where it stops being art, I guess is what I'm saying. I think AI art is almost a misnomer. And so anyway, getting back in the weeds with that, but no, I don't like it. But I think there's maybe less of an ethical issue with it if you got permission. I also don't get why anybody would do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, Omari Daniel says, guys, I have breaking news. I have also been announced as joining Avengers Doomsday. They just didn't have a chair for me. That's great. Okay, so should we... I guess we'll go ahead and look at the list here in a second. Yeah. Let me talk more broadly about what this project looks like at the moment. So we've got, it looks like, kind of 3 facets of the multiverse that we're dealing with, unless some other big names are coming down the road and we end up seeing other pockets. Because one thing you gotta wonder with this is how much more are we gonna get when we get to Secret Wars, as far as alternate versions of characters from different universes and characters from previous movie franchises that we treat as being in different universes in the multiverse, right? So we've got three sections. We've got the MCU proper, the sacred timeline, okay, and we have the old X-Men franchise, specifically the original set of actors.
Yeah.
Some of them, of course, but not all of them. But nobody from First Class and the First Class side of Days of Future Past. It's all the older actors. And then you've got the Fantastic Four universe. Although we may not actually go back to that world. I feel like we'll understand more about where this is all headed maybe when we see Fantastic Four, because we could never go back to that universe. It could be that by the end of that movie, because it looks very much like that's going to take place in a different world that is set in the 60s, right? And the Fantastic Four could all come over to the MCU by the end of that and then get roped into our world with the rest of our characters, and maybe they join an Avengers team, maybe they're still a team by themselves. I think it's important to note that these can't all be Avengers. It very much looks like Infinity War and Endgame, where you have a bunch of characters that aren't technically Avengers in a movie called Avengers something, but at least in some ways those movies are still kind of about the Avengers, arguably. There at least is an existing Avengers team that's doing things. Then when you get to Endgame and you're a few years later, they've got kind of a new team, but they're still wearing Avengers suits, and it is that institution, right? So one of a couple of things is happening. Either we are saving more big announcements for later, and they're either the more cameos, or they're the actual important characters, and more of these are cameos. Very hard to tell. Or we also could be seeing other pockets of these universes later where we don't have any Spider-Man stuff. Maybe that gets announced later, or we get surprised by it. But then, and I'm talking about, I mean, we don't even have Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but we don't have any of the other movie stuff, from the other franchises, like we had with Into the Spider-Verse in No Way Home, which people might have expected. So, is that stuff coming later? Is it not happening at all, or is it being saved for Secret Wars?
Yeah.
And if it's being saved for Secret Wars, what is Battle World going to look like if we have a Battle World? Mm-hmm. So, like, these are just all questions, but we could have 2 or 3 universes that we're primarily spending time in, and then with whatever shenanigans Doctor Doom is doing in destroying the multiverse, merging universes in the multiverse, whatever he's doing, you could end up with a battle world by the end, and then we could explore more of those alternate characters and franchises and things in Secret Wars. And so the question is it just a couple 3 universes from the multiverse merging, or are those just the ones that we're focused on for some reason, and then when we get to the end of that movie, we peel the curtain back? This was an idea Austin had, and I think he might be right about it, and then we start seeing more of those pockets, but in a splintered, singular universe now, which is Battle World, which is what Secret Wars does in the comics with it. The question I have for you, Jason, before we read down the list real quick is, did any of this, besides Gambit, did any of these announcements really surprise you? Would any of this been worth sitting through a long video? Oh my god, it's that guy!
No. It would have just made me mad, I feel like.
It sounded like it made everybody mad.
Yeah.
Because again, they made it seem like they were making you sit through some of the obvious names, and maybe a couple names you weren't necessarily expecting. I don't think anybody is surprised that there will be cameos from other movie projects outside of MCU.
Yeah.
I think everybody was expecting that, at least by Secret Wars. It may be a surprise if the original X-Men are hugely involved in the story, where these aren't cameos. And they're some of our main cast. And if that's handled well, that could be cool. I know there's people that are really frustrated with that, going, why can't we just finally recast? That's going to be part of the soft reboot. I almost guarantee you that that's the whole point and where we're headed. Now, whether people are going to care enough by the time we get to the soft reboot is a whole other thing. Because right now they're putting some people off, to be fair, including me to some degree, with just constant nostalgia bait, where we got to make it yet another reunion movie.
Yeah.
And we've already done that with X-Men. Like, a lot.
Yeah. Why can't we just have another Avengers movie? I feel like that's the thing, is like, that's really the thing that I haven't really had much time to think about this.
Oh, sure. Well, the joke a lot of people were making was that the cast list would still be being revealed by the time the Captain Logan show started tonight.
Yeah.
Luckily, it finished a couple of hours before.
With a lot of this, I feel like this movie's just gonna be boring. Like,
yeah,
a lot of this cast just feels really boring to me. Like, there's not a lot of stuff besides the original X-Men cast that's, like, exciting. And then you have the original X-Men cast, which none of those are Avengers. I don't know if you know this, but those are X-Men. They were in a movie series called X-Men, not a movie series called Avengers. So, why are you calling it Avengers? And, why aren't you just making another X-Men if you have to do this? Why do you have to, like, round them up into your Avengers movie and take up time that we want for having another Avengers movie?
At the risk of making too big of a deal out of titles, I think they would get more goodwill from especially an audience that has kind of tuned them out, that has not been impressed with recent efforts, and that could be brought back in for a big event like this, if it's if it's exciting and if it can make them feel at all like Infinity War and Endgame did. But the Russo's coming back. Even if that seems desperate, they're at least competent. So that's going to maybe get more people that have not cared lately to come back. But I think you'd garner more goodwill with that audience if you just put Marvel on top of it and you didn't bother with the Avengers name. I think they need that to sell it, and I actually think it would give them more credibility with this if they didn't do that. Now, I don't know what story they're telling, and this seems counterintuitive on a marketing standpoint, or for a marketing standpoint, Jason. If they're really telling some kind of an Avengers story, but I mean, most of these characters aren't really Avengers. Yeah. So again, some of it's going to depend on how important any of these guys are. Mm-hmm. I would assume the Fantastic Four are going to get a decent amount of screen time right after the Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
But is it possible that the majority of the characters we're seeing here end up being cameos? Because some of them, I feel like, have to be major characters.
Yeah. And
some of them could be just straight up throwaway cameos. And I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but if some of these characters are the big guns that the narrative is actually focusing on, that get to make the big calls, that are getting the big character arcs, and then some of them are throwaway cameos. You've got Anthony Mackie here, but then you've also got Rebecca Romijn. Is it possible this really is the whole cast list? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So a lot of my response to this is, it really depends on if this is everything.
Yeah, and we had a super chat from One Reply.
Yeah.
He says, they announced the cast, but now I can't tell who's a cameo or a real character,
right?
So I can't get excited. They should have stuck to the main New Avengers.
Thanks. That's exactly what I said.
Too, because if that is true, that some of these are cameos, why do they announce them now? I feel like cameos are the best when it is a reveal, even if it makes you mad. At least, like, I don't know. I don't like time to think about it, and then it's just like, oh, you see it, and it's like, okay.
Well, that's what ticked me off again with the CW Crisis. There were actors and characters I was kind of excited to see show up for the first time in a million years. Huntress from Birds of Prey and Burt Ward from 60s Batman. And I thought, well, they're giving us a lot of them, but maybe there's just a bunch more. No, we had them all. There wasn't one cameo that surprised
and none of those
us.
did nothing. Like
And they were all there for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that they're not making the same mistake here. But you're right. If it's just throwaway fan service and it's just nostalgia bait, at the very least, let me get goosebumps for 5 seconds. If I'm going to get goosebumps at all. Like, a lot of people didn't like the cameos and how disposable. I didn't mind it so much, but how disposable the alternate versions of characters in Doctor Strange 2 were. Mm-hmm. But at least we didn't know about them.
Yeah.
At least you got to. I mean, maybe some people looking like really close found out about some of it, but they didn't market it on it. They didn't give us a cast list a year early. You know,
with chairs for 5.5 hours. Also, they at least got more than 15 seconds, which is better than Crisis.
They were. You're right. They were there for a little bit, but then the other thing is, Deadpool just did this really well.
Yeah,
and it's gonna feel real been there, done that, even if it's done okay. And Deadpool didn't tell us about all of them.
Right.
And you were able to go in there, spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine, for anybody that still hasn't seen that movie, but you were able to go into that, most of us, and have no idea that Blade was coming. And that was both fan service and really fun and pretty well handled. And, like, you didn't know about Gambit. And which was just a joke, which is why I don't like that he's listed here.
Yeah, and also if they which also makes me think that they just didn't understand the success of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
And they're just like, oh, people like this guy's everywhere. You know, he made a name for himself. He
Yeah. When we reviewed Deadpool and Wolverine, I said we've got to not, because I saw a lot of fans going, the MCU is back, baby! And I was like, no, Ryan Reynolds had carte blanche and they let him do pretty much anything he wanted to.
Yeah.
And just because he makes a movie that is set in the MCU, or at least parts of it are, and it's about how poorly received and badly handled the Multiverse saga has been. It doesn't mean that Feige and the other powers that be and other creators in this space understand all of that. I said they are probably going to learn the wrong lessons from this. And this cast list tells me I'm right about that. Now, I hope not, but this doesn't give me any confidence at all, Jason. Now, there are, and we'll talk about it in a second, there are a couple of characters that I wasn't expecting to see here that I'm a little bit curious about, that they might do neat things with. But as far as the X-Men franchise of it all, and especially just seeing Gambit there, it seems almost inevitable, and this is what I said they do. It looks to me as almost inevitable that they're going to play all of the fan service stuff and the old movie crossover stuff as totally endearing. When Deadpool was making fun of how ridiculous and over the top and obvious it's gotten. It's just gonna do all the stuff that Deadpool said, yeah, we're cooler than that now. Yeah, but they're not. You know what it's like? This is not a one-to-one analogy. It's like Zack Snyder. Yeah, I'm gonna throw shade at Snyder again. It's like Zack Snyder with BVS responding to the collateral damage complaint with Man of Steel. What he recognized was that people didn't like that. Mm-hmm. Did he understand why? No. And that's exactly what we have here. Except it's responding to a positive instead of responding to a negative. So they're going, oh, people liked all that Fox X-Men stuff. Now, it's also likely that they always planned to do some of this. Mm. I doubt very seriously if Channing Tatum as Gambit was in the mix until they did it in Deadpool.
That was definitely last minute.
Yeah. Another thing I want to bring up is all the characters that I'm surprised not to see here. And also characters that are here that I don't think would be necessarily if this movie started its pre-production a year from now. So, first of all, you notice, no Marvels. And if this movie and I think I know why, because that movie completely tanked at the box office. If this movie was in production as the Marvels was about to come out, you know all three of them would be here.
Yeah.
But they're not, probably, unless they're keeping that a secret. And all of this has been so counterintuitive that I don't even put that past them. I don't even put it past them to make a big deal out of it. Yeah, you didn't think we were going to put the Marvels in here, but here they are. No one liked that.
Yeah.
But so maybe I sound hypocritical. I'm assuming they're not here because that movie didn't do well. But it's also, there's this backdoor possibility that they're so out of touch that I don't think this is true, but it's possible they're so out of touch that they're keeping that a secret. They're going to make a big deal out of it later. Oh, no, there they are.
Sure.
If this was greenlit, or they started pre-production on it, again, I should say, after the last Captain America movie didn't do very well at the box office, Anthony Mackie would almost certainly still be here, but he would probably have a reduced role from what I imagine he will end up having in this. Yeah. He will be the leader of the Avengers, and he will get lots of screen time.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that movie. They have no idea how Thunderbolts is going to do, and they're all here.
Yeah.
Except for the one we all knew they'd kill off. The movie's not out yet. We all know what character gets killed off in that movie.
Yeah.
But, you're going through the chairs and then Ghost shows up? Oh my god, really? We get to see Ghost in an Avengers? Whoa! Alright.
Who cares?
I'm not actually reading it, I just put it on the screen, but...
Now... my question is, did Wakanda Forever make any money?
I think it did okay. It has not been talked about a lot after that. It obviously wasn't anything like the cultural phenomenon the first movie was, and it didn't do the guns that did, but it wasn't a flop or anything. I was surprised to see as much of that here, too, though.
And where's Doctor Strange?
So, I want to say Benedict Cumberbatch had already reported that he wasn't going to be in this. I can't remember. We got some concept art recently that leaked that had Doctor Strange standing next to Doctor Doom, where he's like his right-hand man in probably Battle World, like he is in the comics. But the Russos, I talked to Austin about this today too, and I hadn't heard about this. He said that the Russos did an interview where they said that was before they were on board, which also kind of tanks some of the excitement I had about this.
Yeah. Because
they've probably abandoned all the stuff that I thought looked really cool about it. So that's hopefully not, but that's frustrating.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I wasn't surprised not to see Doctor Strange here because I thought I had heard something about his not being in this. Hopefully he shows up in Secret Wars. Yeah. But maybe he's not in either. Apparently Wanda's not in either.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
And if she's not, I'm not sure why we didn't just kill her, but I'm saying that retroactively. Maybe they just hadn't decided what exactly they were doing with her. But the biggest disappointment to me, if this is the cast list, or if the characters we have left are just not big deal characters, and so what I'm about to say won't even show up here anyway, but you were building to what looked like, I said before, a Young Avengers team, and most of those characters aren't here. So, and some of those were some of the only new characters I liked, and they're not here. So we don't have new Hawkeye, and you know why? Because the only other place we've seen her besides the Hawkeye TV show was in the after credits in The Marvels.
Oh.
Because they set her up there, like, we're gonna, rah-rah girl power.
Yeah.
And then, again, she could show up. We could be saving her for Secret Wars. I don't mean to jump the gun and make a ton of assumptions, but I am explaining what I think is likely. And or at least with what we have here, I can't get as excited because you're not putting in the characters that I A was kind of excited to see again, and B thought would make for good Avengers, and there's like no Avengers on this list.
So if they only
or very
did
many.
a specific number of
Reveals?
announcements, reveals for this cast,
But it is a
then
big ass list.
why are some of these characters here? Like, some of these characters like shouldn't be in if you have a limited list.
Yeah.
Then why Ghost?
Again,
Like,
unless
why...
these are the really important characters, somehow it's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that Patrick Stewart gets any more screen time than he did in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is, so I don't know. I want to say I was really hoping for Hawkeye. I think I'm going to go even one further and say it's preposterous if she's not in this movie. Or if at least she's not in an Avengers team by Secret Wars. But I would think you would... See, I don't even want to say that. I would think if you're... I guess we're going to have to see what the movie is, Jason. It's also possible that it's not really an Avengers movie at all, and they're just calling it that so that, it gets butts in the seats. But, and then, that makes more sense to me, I guess. I don't like it, but I guess that makes more sense. But anyway, I was fully expecting her to be in this movie, and I was fully expecting... Well, okay, I wasn't, but I still think it's stupid that she's not. Where the hell is America Chavez? And I know that a lot of people don't like Multiverse of Madness, so I have a bit of a bias because I do like that movie.
Yeah.
But just take your feelings out of the equation for a minute. You've been doing the Multiverse saga, and the one character whose power is to traverse the multiverse isn't here?
Yeah.
What kind of sense does that make?
Yeah.
And if she shows up as a big reveal... You're not going to excite a lot of people because most people didn't like that movie. Even though I did. Or I say most people. I talk to people all the time that hate that movie. And I still don't totally get that. But
yeah.
Maybe it's more of a split. That maybe it's just a vocal minority. I don't know. I get the sense that most people hate that movie. I don't know.
No, most people hate that movie.
That's the sense I
get. It was one of my favorites in a while just because I really didn't like... anything for like a couple years before that movie came out, so...
Well, one thing that's going to be bizarre about this movie, and I guess this and Secret Wars together, is, and I probably made this point before, but it's going to feel to a lot of people like a legacy sequel, like a decades later sequel. It's going to feel like, not just for X-Men, it's going to feel like a reunion movie for Marvel, even though we've had Marvel movies this whole time, because a lot of people have checked out.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that haven't looked at hardly anything in 6 years, or left pretty hard after Phase 4, maybe they watched Quantumania and they went, I'm done. And, I mean, Ant-Man's here, even though Quantumania didn't do very well.
Yeah.
But maybe they're thinking, well, Paul Rudd is still an actor people really like that's still... some like comic relief that we can throw in. I mean, you do have a little bit of the problem of there's a lot of characters that people are not into as much anymore. There's a lot of new characters nobody likes, and a lot of old characters that people have kind of given up on. And by the way, Thor is here too.
Yeah. Yeah, and at this point,
Thor, who has no great movies.
They have taken out most of the Avengers and made the rest of the Avengers that they still have really dumb. Yeah. They don't have the Guardians anymore.
Well, that was a point that Austin made when he and I were talking about it. I should have brought him on stream tonight. I don't know if he's in the comments. I should have brought him on. But anyway, he was surprised not to see at least Peter Quill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah.
And I guess I have to just keep saying it, but maybe Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these characters are going to show up and surprise us.
Hulk?
I also don't get why... Yeah.
Like, where is he?
But you know what? If Hulk can't even be in the Incredible Hulk sequel, maybe he shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember this, but they made an Incredible Hulk sequel.
They did.
Years and years later, this year, without the Hulk in it. Mm-hmm. I guess all of this is a gigantic question mark, where I have a hard time not just going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still there with Marvel right now, where I'm like, you guys don't look like you've learned anything. You look like you're still real out of touch, and you don't get not just what the fan base wants, but what the fan base is going to not be excited about that you keep touting up as like a big exciting deal. I don't know why they thought they could get away with 3.5 hours of chairs.
Yeah.
With no payoff.
No, it was 5.5 hours.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
With no payoff. And again, I think they made a big deal out of just wait. There's going to be this big deal at the end, and it was just Robert Downey. We already know he's in it. I don't understand that. Austin thought maybe what they do is reveal at the end the 6 original Avengers all come out a door.
Yeah.
And like that may have been a big deal.
That would have been
That's at least
huge deal.
something.
Yeah.
Now, it couldn't have been that because I think even before this, Scarlett Johansson already said, well, Black Widow's dead. I'm never playing her again. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah.
But, and that also might feel like, some people would say that feels like fan pandering, where we're so desperate we have to go all the way back and we can't do anything new and original and that's like actually exciting. Because I know some people might push back and say, but Cap, they've tried original stuff. You haven't liked very much of it. And I'm like, well, I mean, it has to be good. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You know, like I want new stuff, but I want some inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, I want people that actually like and read comics to pull cool stuff from comics. I want Secret Wars to be a neat movie about a Skrull invasion and not the most boring TV show in the history of boring TV shows.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't just get the E for effort. It means there enough effort. You know,
yeah.
Like we didn't mention what's his face? There's so many names. Shang-Chi.
Yeah. I thought he wasn't gonna return. I thought
just
his rings.
Just the 10 rings will return.
That's what they said at the end of the movie. The 10 rings will return.
Right.
So I thought, oh well, Shang-Chi isn't coming back.
You know what's hilarious? I'm pretty sure it was Shang-Chi that set up Blade. It's been like 5 years now, hasn't it? How long is it? Wait, maybe not 5, 3 or 4.
2021, 4 years.
4 years. Good Lord. And of course, everybody's been making fun of them for it being impossible to get a Blade movie out. Like, Blade should be in this.
He should.
Blade should have come out already and would show up in this or Secret Wars.
They just don't. It doesn't seem like they care. I don't know. We got another super chat from One Reply, and he says, "If Fox X-Men actors are the TAS versions, that's a shame." And I'm thinking, I didn't even think about that.
And there's every possibility they do that. I didn't think about that.
If they do have Channing Tatum and they do actual Channing Tatum Gambit, which is just the TAS Gambit,
I didn't even think about that.
They might do TAS versions of all of them.
Yeah, because he's not likely to come from a different universe than they do. They'll probably all be from the same world. And in that case, it's like, why are we bothering with the stunt casting? Mm-hmm. See, what's awkward about doing an X-Men reunion, like for the original movies, is it's not really those versions of those characters. Like, was Patrick Stewart really that big of a deal in Multiverse of Madness? It's not even that universe's Professor X, and you can say, well, you already sort of have multiple universes. They can't decide what is continuous with Fox X-Men. That's also part of the reason it's hard to get me excited about a reunion with them, because A, it was done a long time ago. I've said this before. And B, it didn't end on a high note. And C, you can't end it on a high note now because it's not going to be those characters.
Yeah. Also,
so I mean,
okay.
it's time to move past it. I don't know what the point is of doing them again, except just being gimmicky about it, right? It's going to be some other universe that just happens to look like those characters.
Yeah. And Tyler says they used the X-Men 97 theme too, and I forgot about that. They did in the trailer.
Oh, did they? I missed that. Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
And what?
And it transitions.
You're talking about in the trailer. You're talking about in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they did that with revealing Professor Xavier in Multiverse of Madness, and he's in the hover chair. And X-Men 97 was really popular.
Yeah.
So, of course, they've just got to fuse those things. And I'm sure what Feige's thinking is one last big hurrah for all the X-Men things people really love before we reinvent it. I also don't know that you want to draw that much attention to the old versions before you reinvent it. Where you go, here's the thing to compare it to. Because when you do it real different and it's not what people remember from before, they might like it less. I don't know. I kind of wish this wasn't how we were introducing X-Men to this universe. You know, where we have to... Deadpool notwithstanding. Because, again, that was parody and it was funny and I really enjoyed that. But moving past that, could we just... I don't know. I wish we were soft rebooting before we... Or straight up rebooting, even before this. But, like, do we have to make it so much about X-Men before we full-on introduce mutants into this world? Because, again, it does feel kind of gimmicky. And it also feels like business as usual for them, and they like they're not realizing stuff's kind of not working for a lot of fans anymore. So, because you know a lot of the reason they're doing this, right? Your big story right now is Multiverse Saga. The next one, Feige has said, is Mutant Saga.
Yeah.
So we gotta make this all about mutants because that's the next big thing, kids.
But why? Okay, but this just kind of confused me, honestly, because if your next thing is the Mutant Saga, why are you bringing in only old X-Men?
Because they're not ready for the soft reboot yet. So the answer to that is those characters will be birthed. I'm positive this is what will happen. Those characters will be birthed out of the world that Doctor Doom creates with Battle World that will then turn into whatever the next MCU is. What you're looking at is a transition into a new MCU. We will come out of this on the other, and I could be wrong, but we will come out of this on the other side with a world that is pre-existing with a bunch of history that we didn't see that was created by this, and retroactively there's all this history, and the blip never happened, and Thanos never happened, and you can retool any of those stories you want to. You can recast any of those characters you want to. We'll come out of this with new versions of and younger versions of the Avengers characters people actually care about, and with new versions of the X-Men that people care about. And that's where all that's going. So the reason they're not recasting in the first place is because they need a bunch of... Well, first of all, they know nostalgia has sold for them recently with X-Men 97 and with Deadpool, respectively. And secondly, because they need a big cast to do Battle World.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not inherently against the idea of doing a cool, big event story with old versions from other franchises, if it's not just for the sake of gimmick.
Yeah.
Like, Deadpool won me over on it. And some of it was parody, and some of it was actually kind of a cool story. Now, some of the setup I didn't quite buy.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I don't like the story of that movie, but
I did really enjoy that.
What they got to do was cool.
Yeah, like, you can win me over on it. But again, the problem is you're making a huge deal out of the old 2000s X-Men actors, and it's not those characters, so who cares?
Yeah.
You know? Like, Wesley Snipes got to play Blade.
Yeah.
He got to play that actual character.
Blade, yeah.
You know what else is weird about this? You got the MCU for your three-pronged, possibly set of universes. You got the MCU, and then you have X-Men and Fantastic Four, which almost were their own shared universe at Fox. You're taking all of the stuff that you got from Fox that is kind of your last big chance to excite people, and you're throwing it all in. The best comment that I saw, Austin sent me this tweet, was somebody said that Cher is gonna get more screen, or just got more screen time than Cyclops got in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And that's really funny.
No, that's hilarious.
It'll be really fun to see him brought back so that he can shoot one character with his optic blast and then get taken off screen.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. They will impress me if the X-Men are major characters. I will say that. I will immediately be kind of more engaged with this probably if, even though they're not those versions.
Yeah.
Now, they'll have their cake and eat it too. You know? Like, you had the universe with Kelsey Grammer's Beast at the end of the Marvels, and that's probably what this is. So it sort of looks like that world, but it still isn't, you know, exactly those characters. It just can't be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just wait, because when they do the chairs for Secret Wars, they'll have like
No, they don't have to do that again.
They'll have they'll have all the characters from anything that's been marginally successful recently, right? So the entire cast aboard again.
You know what's really funny?
Yeah.
You know what you should do? You should make a video. Do you know what I'm gonna say?
Kinda, because I've already had this thought if it's what I think you're gonna say, but go ahead.
You should make a video that's like the cast list for the Superhero Rewind movie, and it's just a bunch of chairs in a row that say Captain Logan.
So I said that to Austin today, and then I was like, is that too obvious? And then you just said it.
Yeah.
He was like making the April Fool's Day video, and I'm like, I don't know, it seems a little bit obvious. And then you know what he said? He said to make it less obvious, do it with tables. That's so good. And then I was like...
But you're like a bunch of characters in that movie, so it should just be Captain Logan.
And then at the end of it, Vince pops up and he just goes, shh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Could somebody explain to me what the shushing was?
Who is he shushing?
Don't tell anybody that I'm in this movie. and I announced that months ago.
And in his announcement, he was like this, and now he's like...
Yeah. He's showing up looking like Tony Stark. He was wearing a bad Doctor Doom outfit before. Anyway, all right. Well, naturally, we talked about that for too long, and I said we were only going to go an hour tonight. We'll go a little longer. We'll maybe knock a couple segments out.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip my segment, do it next time. If you want,
are there? Why don't you look real quick and see if there's some comments about this that we should go ahead and read? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Maybe this will just have to be the show tonight, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Says bringing Stewart and McKellen back makes me sad. Just recast.
And like I said, I do get to some degree not recasting because it would be a little awkward if you. Hear me out for a second. It would be awkward if you recast and introduced, because this is all about multiverse, right? Introduced new X-Men from a different universe with the actors that you're going to use for the prime MCU universe later on, right? Like, that would be a little weird, and that's about all you could do. Unless you went with a totally new cast that was only for this one thing, and then you made them entirely different actors after that. Like, if you are going to do X-Men characters, how do you even do it? Yeah. So I would say it's probably better just to not do that yet. I don't know why this has to be a reunion thing for that.
Yeah.
Now, I saw comments with the chair trailer. People were excited about it. Because you have that mentality of one more time. You know, I've got to see that actor play that guy. I got to see 90-year-old Ian McKellen play. I don't know how old Ian McKellen is right now. I got to see him play Magneto one more time. I'm like, we saw him play him one more time. We already did the X-Men reunion thing.
Yeah,
you'll never do it better than Days of Future Past did it, and it wasn't perfect at it, but like we already got to do this.
Yeah.
And why, when the MCU has not been very good for 6 years, do we have to make this about that?
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as a huge fan of that franchise.
Yeah.
And Deadpool got out of our system. Deadpool and Wolverine was, in some part, a love letter to not just X-Men, but the entire Fox superhero line. We did this already, folks. We've been there and we've done that.
Yeah.
But also ask me if I'm really surprised by it. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Angel Castaneda98 says, I like musical chairs. But that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a game. This was staring at the backs of chairs. I don't know why they did it as a live stream. Everything about that screams entitled as heck to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we know you're so obsessed with what we're making that you'll stare at this for that long with no payoff. And it's worse because they've lost so much consumer confidence. Mm-hmm. Like, if they did this around Endgame, I'd roll my eyes at it. But they at least had some credibility back then.
Yeah.
Or certainly more than they do now.
Yeah. Color of Thought says Eric Bana's Hulk shows up, beats up some CGI villains, and replaces Professor Hulk.
Sure. That sounds good. Yeah, that's the thing is I actually can't get worked up about not having Hulk because I don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
And he's been awful since Endgame.
Yeah.
And by the way, was really underutilized before that, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I say since Endgame. I guess since Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. You know, ever since we made him a straight-up joke. H.B. Haga, this is a great comment. He says, oh, gods, they're going to try to do the Dark Phoenix saga again. You just know they will. I can't wait to live in a world where we have a trilogy of bad Dark Phoenix movies. Or what if it's like a trilogy of Wolverines, where they finally get it right and they have a good one at the end?
Yeah.
Well, I say that. I like the Wolverine, but...
Rated R Dark Phoenix?
It's not anything like as good as Logan.
I've still never seen the Wolverine.
I think you might like it. I think you'll laugh at the ending like everybody did.
Is that one... like isn't that one... all the samurai stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
It ain't perfect, but I think you'd enjoy
Better than
that.
X-Men Origins?
Murray Daniels, I do not want to see Patrick Stewart's Professor X die again. Especially because we do have a trilogy of those now, okay? Don't do it again.
We're gonna do a fourth one.
Don't do it again. We've done that 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, okay, great. Said Stewart's had 3 send-offs at this point.
Yeah. Quit it. Why do we need that? You know, I would almost respect this a little more if it was all first-class actors.
Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Because we at least didn't give them their stupid reunion movie.
Right, and I also like those actors a lot. Like, I like that cast as much as I liked the originals. I don't know why we can't bring them back.
Does it read as, like, desperate to get the oldest audience members back? And then why? Like, that's part of what's weird about this, too, is... What is the strategy exactly? Like, do they think there's enough here to get the whole audience back? That somehow going back to that original cast and then having a few of the newer characters, but not anything like as many as I would have expected, makes it more accessible. Like makes it a more general audience thing. I don't know. Or is the point to just do a big kind of nostalgia wave and then reset the board after that? Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's gonna be all about Gen Z and Gen Alpha. You know, like they'll start finally making the movies more for them. You can argue that they have attempted some of that already. You know, in the last couple phases, but anyway, any other comments you see you gotta hit?
The one thing I wanted to say was...
Yeah.
Another thing that confused me was... I thought Mystique was never going to come back.
Why'd you think that? I mean, they can bring back anybody they want to with Multiverse.
Yeah, but I thought, like, that actress was just never going to come back for anything.
Well, that's Rebecca Romaine. That's the original Mystique.
The original Mystique.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence probably wouldn't have done it again.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
But Rebecca Romaine, I mean, she's on Strange New Worlds, but she's got time between seasons. I mean, there's nothing stopping her from doing this. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And never complained about the makeup.
Yeah.
Not like Jennifer Lawrence did. I am kind of curious to see if she puts on the makeup for any amount of time, or because I guess I could see that either way. I could kind of see her, and I'm not saying because she doesn't want to wear it, but I could kind of see them bringing her in. Well, if the whole thing is so nostalgia baity though, well, actually, hold on. I have another thought based on something you said a minute ago. Because I was thinking either way. I was thinking she could come in and just look human the whole time, and just be like infiltrating and stuff, and maybe have like one shot with the face, or they could hold on, or they could do the obvious thing and make everybody look like they did in those movies. Or they could go full on X-Men 97, and they could have comic-looking Mystique, like they do with Gambit. But it's Rebecca Romaine playing it. I guess they could do that.
Yeah. And, like, I really like that design. It would look cool, but also I really like the 2000s design, so I don't know.
I have a ridiculous prediction. Are you ready? He won't be there for any amount of time. But I don't have anything to base this on except this character was an X-Men in 97 and it was popular, and we kept building to this and we never got there. This will be the place where we finally get Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
You just wait. That's what they'll do. And they'll have one big token scene where it's the X-Men fighting Mr. Sinister. And he will die in that scene. Right?
Yeah.
Or it'll just be a 90s looking Sentinel. Could be that too.
Also,
what if they did Morph? What if they did a live action Morph?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you have Mystique, so I guess I don't know what the point of that is, but
the other thing about Mystique though is, and I just didn't know this, but I was looking at this when I was looking at the list, I was like, well, you can't assume with every actor like who they're gonna play. Because she's also Joan.
So I had that thought too.
In The Punisher.
Yeah, but they won't do that.
A couple of people are saying they might, so.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a whole list of just actors that played X-Men characters in the 2000s.
Yes.
However, I also kind of jokingly had that thought. First of all, let me just say, Ryder and some other people in the comments, and I've been seeing this today, are saying, well, they could have Rebecca Romaine look like the movie Mystique, but not even put her in the makeup, because they could just CG it, which they did with Beast in at the end of Multiverse of Madness. No, Marvels. Was it Marvels?
Yeah, Marvels. Yeah, that was Marvels.
I can't keep all this straight anymore. But anyway, what were we talking about?
You had a funny idea.
Oh, yeah. So, they're bringing Robert Downey back, and he's not playing the character he played before.
Right. Right.
So, is it possible that there's anybody on this list that is not playing the character that we would expect them to play?
Right. What if Paul Rudd is playing someone else? I mean, no. I mean, they made his chair small, but, like...
And Paul Rudd as Jarvis.
Yes.
Anyway, do you see anything else we should hit about this? Okay, guys, thanks a lot for your thoughts and your comments. Let's see. I can go another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and do your segment real quick, or do we want to save it? What do you think?
I think we should save it. It's either we do my segment or we do our ending segment.
Okay, let's just go ahead and do the ending segment.
Yeah.
If people have any other questions or topics, I'm going to say last call for that. We'll do our ending segment, and then if we see anything, especially if there's super chats, we'll just hit those right at the end. So tonight, Jason and I are going to give each other questions again, one question each. We'll do our own little Q&A. And Jason, do you want to go this time first or second?
I'll go first.
All right, go right ahead, sir.
Would you rather
Yeah.
kill all the mutants
Oh, no!
or kill a random half of the universe
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with that.
in the Marvel universe?
What a metaphysical dilemma. I thought you were gonna go just end of X2.
Yeah.
And say, would you rather kill all the mutants or all the humans? That's where I thought you were going with that. I'm glad I didn't have to answer that question. That's horrible. So yeah, would you rather? So basically, you're saying, would you rather do House of M? Would you rather do No More Mutants, or would you rather do Thanos in Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War?
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
Wow, that's tough. So the utilitarian response would be figure out what the number is of each.
Yeah.
So greatest happiness principle would say if there are fewer mutants than there is half of the world. You're saying the world, not the universe.
The universe.
The universe? Okay, well, maybe there's mutants on other planets.
Yeah.
But the greatest happiness response would say if there are fewer mutants than there are people in half the people in the universe, you have to kill the mutants.
Yeah.
And if you're like putting a gun in my head and I have to pick, like, I'm not always utilitarian in my responses. Like, sometimes there's more things to consider than just coldly saying what is the math. But in this particular case, it probably is the math. Unless you had a crystal ball and you could see that, I guess this somewhat is, wave is also greatest happiness principle. But you could say, if you had a crystal ball, you could also look at it as, if I see the future and the mutants are more important for the prosperity of the world or for the continued existence of humanity, then maybe it would, in another cold, sad way, make sense to kill half the universe to keep the mutants alive that you need.
Mm-hmm.
What would your response to that be?
I don't know.
Or are you just going crazy moral dilemma?
I'm gonna say I completely forgot to give you a question, so I wrote it right before we went on.
Oh, crazy!
So I was like,
I thought that was kind of a good one. I like ethical dilemmas like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no good answer because you're killing a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I would generally have to say mutant.
Yeah, I would probably say that too.
Yeah.
Mari Daniel says maybe Ian McKellen is just Gandalf.
They don't have the rights to that. All right, Jason. Here's my question for you, and this is a real putting you on the spot kind of question. So good luck with this, because you're gonna have to rack your brain a minute and try to come up with a good one. Which of your can be from any band, any album, any artist?
Yes.
Which of your favorite songs would make for a good TV theme song, and for what show?
TV theme song, and for what show? Like a specific show instead of...
Or a show that never had one, or a show you'd like to see that exist that doesn't exist. Just what would the property be?
Okay.
Here's a great song. It goes with this character, or it goes with this property.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, I know. It's tough.
Not sure if I want to just go the obvious Team BG direction.
Yeah, because a lot of people won't know what you're talking
They
about.
also have a lot of songs.
Can I throw one out to get your creative juices flowing?
Yes.
I think it would be fun if we did a new, somewhat comedic and bombastic Batman show, and we just used "Kiss from a Rose."
Sure.
That'd be pretty great.
I'm trying to look at my like what I like.
Like, can you come up with a theme song for Lost, or for like or Heroes, or for one of those shows that just didn't have a theme?
Lost. Lost. The theme for Lost would be the long and winding road.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I would think it would have something more to do with airplanes flying.
Okay, back in the USSR.
No, not literally airplane sound effects. I hate that. I hate it. It's not a bad song, but I hate that sound. Angel Castaneda, I need Cap to quote McKellen as Magneto. You sure will not be safe. There, I did it. That's why the pawns go first.
I don't know what, but I feel like
this dorky-looking helmet.
I feel like Scotch and Chocolate, Nickel Creek would be an amazing theme for something. I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think it would be really cool for something.
This is too hard of a question. I apologize.
Yes, it is. It's very hard.
Well, I'm not seeing any more questions or topics. I think we should probably wrap up this evening. We could have talked even a lot more about the cast list.
Yeah.
And if that comes up some next week, too, that's totally cool. But I've got some things to do tonight, so I got to get going. But thanks a lot to everybody for popping in and interacting with us and talking with us about the cast list. I don't mean this to be too overtly negative. Like, is there still a chance that this movie is really cool? Yeah. I think it's more likely if this isn't everything. And I think it's more likely if the actual Avengers team has not been revealed yet. But I'm going to question that marketing all day long. Mm-hmm. Like, what I'm complaining about more than anything is what it looks like because of what they decided to tell us already. Like, I'm really just saying that was a dumb move.
Yeah.
Just everything about the way, the presentation, the actual list. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention is Namor is interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought that actor got in trouble. I didn't think we'd see him come back. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah. I liked him.
I did too.
So I'm fine with that. Because
and I like Shuri if she's written well.
He might be in a good movie this time. He was just written terribly.
Like, I wanted Shuri in Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Or whatever, that would have been the team of, kind of teenage to young adult Avengers.
I feel like that's just what this is at this point. Like,
no, because there's no Avengers there.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
but they're all new heroes. Like,
well, what's funny is I like more of the new female characters than the male characters. Although some of those I don't like either. Like, I'm glad Riri's not there, because who could possibly care?
I don't even freaking remember.
Ironheart.
Yeah.
She was in Black Panther too.
Yes, I think.
Do you remember him?
I barely remember anything about Wakanda Forever. That wasn't even. I got nothing from that movie.
She's still supposed to have her TV show.
Yeah.
That still hasn't come out yet. That filmed forever ago, I think. But anyway, I at this point would be kind of fine with just the all-female team they talked about doing. I mean, there's, a lot of people have the worry that it would be way too pandery and in your face about patting themselves on the back. Like, look, we got chicks in a superhero movie, but I like more of their girls. Like, I'd like to see a team with Hawkeye and with Shuri and with America Chavez, and I don't mind Miss Marvel. Like, there's a group there.
Yeah.
Oh, also, stupid new Falcon is on that list. Who could possibly care?
Yeah.
Yay, new Falcon. Anyway,
Falcon.
Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. I just wanted to tack some of those thoughts on because I forgot to mention them earlier. Yeah. And now it's time for leaving, and we're gonna bid you farewell, and we'll see you again next week on Thursday night at 7 with probably 2 hours of the Captain Logan Show, and join Austin and I again later this week for more fun stuff.
You said next Thursday night.
Next Wednesday night. God, it was Thursday forever. Next Wednesday night, same Cap time. Next Wednesday night. Anyway,
Cap channel.
Thanks for watching. See you, folks.
I wanna take you for a ride.